Okay, and we are live once more on a Sunday morning. So let's see if we get anybody to show up. A few things going on. I'm somewhat better, but I've been sick for over a week uh, with whatever the hell's ailing me. And a lot of things going on. I did, I had all kinds of problems with Spectrum, with my internet service, with cable TV, had equipment fail and stuff. So I was really busy um, with it all. Yes, good morning. So today's topic, been meaning to make some content, but being tied up, I kind of did get tied up with the shotgun project and with the humidity and the temperature as it is, it's almost impossible. The heat wave that hit us about friggin' killed me. And to go out and just disassemble the weapons, clean them, and put them back together is tough. Then I have to get out to the range, get there real early, try to fire the guns, and then for a limited time, it's an hour for me to get up, an hour back. I try to squeeze too much in and just physically ain't able to do it. But I've come to some conclusions, and it kind of ties in. It kind of ties into the topic today. Right now, it's very strange out there. If you look at everything going on, just with the economy, with politics, and everything else, I did see an article where someone said, for an election year, and they go by the background checks, and it was April or something, they got the numbers. They said compared to the last election, the numbers of background checks or firearms purchases is way lower than what they were 4 years ago. And, I think they set record gun sales. Every year was a new record for the past 8 years or 10 years. Okay. So what you get, like and these are commercial firearms, these are new firearms. Okay. Um, I'm not talking, and that's where we're going to compare. I'd like to discuss the difference between basically the commercial market and the mill surplus market. They're two different markets altogether, but a lot of people interested in the mill surplus guns still do buy guns for concealed carry or like these shotguns and that for home defense. So that's where the two topics kind of blend in. In other words, people interested in the mill surplus guns in general. There are people that will only fool with mill surplus guns or older antique guns. They really are not interested in a lot of these other areas. But there are a lot of people and subscribers that, you know, they're interested in them. So what happens is when you have these panics and these sellouts, okay, because we all know 4 years ago you couldn't buy any type of weapon, okay. I mean, I walked into some big box stores and I mean there was nothing in the firearms department, nothing at all. If there was, and maybe 10 firearms or something. Uh, so what happens, and same thing with the ammo. When they had all that run on ammo and the ammo shortage and the stuff just, you know, was gone. People were buying it up and doubling the price and selling it. Okay, there was no ammo for over a year. All right, so what do the companies do? They kick into overdrive. Now, what are they going to make? Okay, they're going to make what people are looking for and buying. And when I went to gun shows, I used to go do gun show reports and wander through the gun shows. I don't even do that anymore because it's pretty much the same thing. When you go there, the things that are selling are handguns of some sort, new handguns, generally Glocks or something that people who are not really into guns, something they recognize, see, and believe is quality and all this other stuff. So you see a ton of Glocks. Okay, you see a ton of other brand name pistols out there. Um, Ruger's, uh, Springfield Armory, and that. So you'll see a ton of those. Berettas, okay, and then the ammo. And most people are buying 9 millimeters, 5.56 or 223 AR-15 style guns, or a 12 gauge shotgun. So these are the main guns you'll see when you go to a gun show where there's tons of them. Some sort of a 12 gauge, some sort of a pistol, and an AR-15 style rifle or something in that caliber is what most people use for home defense. Okay, and they're in high demand. A lot of people that really don't know a lot about firearms will be looking to purchase that particular type of firearm, and that's how the industry's geared up to make it. Now, all of them went full bore, okay, especially with any type of small handgun used for, concealed carry. And these companies have been going overtime, same with the ammo. Okay, so right now we have this weird situation, which is the reverse of the shortage. Is these companies been pumping out these guns because they sold their inventory for the past 4 years is gone. So they kept going and making more. And I'm not talking about the lower end guns like these Turkish guns, or like I reviewed some of the Sky pistols, which you see them, stacks of them at a gun show. I'm talking, stuff like Beretta, uh, Winchester. All of these companies are offering these huge rebates on these guns, okay, where you're getting a pretty damn good discount on them as compared to what they were. I'll tell you what I know about, these Turkish guns, okay? When you go on YouTube and you look any one of these models up, they all come out about 2 years ago. They're all the newest thing or something, about 2, sometimes 3 years ago. And you see all these channels, these guys go out and they get the gun or somebody gives it to them and they go and they shoot them and do a review or whatever. Okay, that's when they were all new. And the retail on them, like I said, uh, when I was getting that pump shotgun for $100 or $110, that did sell, and these people paid $240 to $250 for that same gun. Okay, which now 2 years later, even though it's not that good, in my last review on the pump, that thing's not good. Even for $100, it's got too many issues that somebody who's not familiar with weapons, it would be problematic for them. Okay, but on the other hand, the Titan, that semi-automatic gun, works fine. Okay, I mean, for the average person who just wants an inexpensive gun, go shoot it. This works great. But you're seeing the surplus, or you're seeing the buildup where they're not selling a lot of the newer commercial guns. And right now is the time you can make out, okay, like you got Grab a Gun, Buds, uh, Battlehawk Armory, Gun Coyote. If you sign up for email alerts, and I get them, I mean, I get a ton of emails. I have to go through and just get rid of like 80 to 100 emails a day. But you get some offers coming up, And with rebates and that, you can get some quality guns. I'm not talking about Turkish guns or Skies or High Points. I'm talking about brand name stuff. Like I said, Ruger had rebates. Beretta was running some really great rebates. If you wanted them little Tomcats and Bobcats and that, I mean, the price came down because when they first come out, they're beautiful firearms. Don't get me wrong, but they're quite expensive. And to see them knock back 100, 100 and a half on them, now, now you got a deal. Well, yeah, that's another thing. I seen AR-15s for 350 some odd dollars. I know it's a brand X model or some strange name you never seen before. But yeah, AR-15s, some of them, how good they are or whatever, they're down there, under $400, which is unheard of. Now you're talking a 1980s price on an AK-47 used to be a $350 gun or something like that, which those things are all in excess of $1,000 for any decent style AK-47 rifle. Okay, which yeah, some of the military style guns do fall in the commercial market. But what I'm saying is, I have not seen this in a long time. When I was doing the series on all these different little pocket guns and that I was getting with rebates and everything is quite reasonable, and it's a big discount compared to where you were paying sticker plus, MSRP plus $40, $50 during the thing. Yeah, I haven't gotten Joel to the or some Mosins at 650 versus an AR. I haven't gotten into the surplus yet. I'm just talking about the commercial market, the modern produced stuff. I mean, and it's this weird thing. These guns carried a premium. They couldn't be found. I know that on this channel, it's not really the main thing. We're mainly into the Milsurp, but still, a lot of the viewers, everybody likes to have a carry gun or one around the house, for defense. But this is what I'm talking about is this disproportionate thing. Okay. See, you're getting better. Selling Mosins. Okay. Over heavy run. No, Milsurp Duo. No, I haven't used any of those powders yet. I haven't gotten any. I stopped buying just about everything. I got the shotguns because they're dirt cheap. I was just curious on what these things were. They're popular. A lot of people like them and that, but I haven't done anything with reloading here at all. So you got this disproportionate thing where the commercial end of it, you can get some decent quality guns at a good price. Ammunition's another thing. Ammunition, they're like drowning in the stuff. I think ammunition, if you go online and find a deal for a case of 9mm, and there's a lot of foreign ones or remanufactured or whatever, I kind of stay away from them. Sterling, anything Sterling, that stuff was terrible. You got to watch out what you're buying. But like Blazer Brass is the one ammunition I found works in all the pistols. Works without no problem, and it isn't crazy expensive. It's a little bit more expensive than some of the foreign stuff. But anything that says range and training, if you read the box, it says it's made by different or components and stuff from different countries. That stuff I've always had trouble with. Something about the brass isn't quite shaped right, and a lot of them light strikes and that is it's not seating with the extractor. Okay, it's just the brass is distorted or something. So now, if we go on the other hand, everyone here is getting uh, into it here. Let's see. Tori, want to Swedish, but I'm not paying the price. No, okay, well, Lugers might be worth. Lugers, now we go into the Milsurp arena. And like I said, the reason the commercial guns and the ARs and everything are low is because they're still being manufactured. Okay. The Milsurp is a total different ball game. None of these things are currently being manufactured. None of these rifles. Okay, like the Swedish M38. Okay, they're not being made. KR-98s are not being made. Okay, nobody is producing these weapons, and there's millions of them out there. Where they all go, like when they came in during the big rush, you see them stacked like firewood at a gun show, and you see all of these guns go. I mean, thousands of them, and it's like they evaporate. You know, wherever the hell they go to, you just never see them in quantity again. They get like scattered to the wind, and they weren't that expensive. And people really, years ago, people really didn't go after these guns that much. They weren't that popular. They weren't that easy to resell before the internet. Okay. Um, at least where I was, of upstate New York, there was a handful of guys that were collectors. Okay. And if you do see auctions, they were generally estate auctions. And whoever was running the auction, a bunch of people, these gun dealers would bring their guns in, sell them. Lugers, Silver Bear. Yeah, that ammo, steel case ammo. So you got to watch some of that stuff. I don't care what anybody said. When I built that AR, or whatever the hell they call them, I built an AR upper what that fired 7.62 by 39. The damn thing works fine, but you got to have a brass case with really nice manufactured ammo. Now you don't want to use like the Yugoslav that has a corrosive priming. You have to go and find either Polish, and I got some of it, I think was from Serbia, which is boxer prime, non-corrosive, and it's decent ammo. And that gun is way more accurate than an AK-47. It shoots good, everything else. I've never gotten around to reloading that cartridge because that's steel cased ammo. Now the steel cased ammo in a military style AK-47, okay, or 74, that stuff will run all day long. Okay, because the firing pin protrudes way more. And I've seen it. The reason I had problems is that steel cased ammo, that damn ammunition would be 15 thousandths lower than the face. And that's why you're getting all these damn light strikes and stuff. Okay, some guns like SKS, a real SKS rifle fires all that steel stuff all day long without a problem. So running the steel ammo in a Mini 14, crack the bolt. That's strange. Listen, my kids and going Sarko and Peter. Yeah, that's what I was getting. I was getting to that point here. So I did an internet search. I was going to make some videos explaining all this. And I went to, I think JG Wholesale was another big place like Ames Surplus. They got tons of stuff in there. And I was looking. He had AK or uh, Mosin rifles. Okay, and I mean they're $600-700 for round receiver World War II dated guns. You know, it's $100 gun. Okay, and like he's saying, they want $800 for it. I got him forbid a hex receiver or whatever. Uh, and I think there was another place. It was like $650 for a Mosin. You know, they're going for $650. Uh, and you know, Royal Tigers still has all this. And all these people send me emails. You know, can I get a rear sight for the Veteran League conversion, or even one of the later ones, the 7087s and the 10 mil. You know, when them sights and that are tore off, you know, first of all, you have to solder them on. Those are soldered on, so setting them back on the receiver is a real pain in the ass. I've tried it. I've tried resoldering sights onto guns, and it's very difficult. You know, you have to have the equipment, the special solder, and it takes some time. And generally, you destroy the finish, so you have to refinish the whole gun once you do it. Yeah, and people they ain't really paying much for them, but them guns are in terrible shape. I think somebody on one of the forums said they had they buy this thing, it's all rusted to shit, or they wire brushed it, and it don't quite lock up, and he's nervous about firing it. I wouldn't fire any of those Veterlies. They come out of Royal Tiger, and a lot of people, wanted to use cast bullet. My cast bullet, and it's a soft lead bullet. It's loaded down to low pressure, but you got to have a clean bore. And the thing is, they're a pretty common gun. Okay, if you search around on auctions, the gun broker or an auction, or if you go to a gun show, you should be able to run into one. And all the ones that I've bought over the years all had a clean bore on them. I don't think they fired them a lot. Okay, there are tons of them around. It was harder to find the 10 millimeters. Okay, but you know, and that's another thing. People parts for anything. And I know a lot of people that buy a ton of stuff out of Royal Tiger. I bought stuff out of Royal Tiger. I actually fire the damn things. But it's like with the Turkish guns. Okay. I get people telling me, hey, I know somebody bought this gun. Nothing wrong with it. It's a great deal. The pump shotgun, shoot it, and there's no problems. And there's people that, one guy sends me a message telling me they were selling them at a local gun store. They don't carry them no more because all it is, they just keep bringing them back. There's all kinds of problems with them. Okay, so, and I said it in one video, you're buying a firearm, and if the quality in that, and a lot of the real dirt cheap stuff, okay, that you're getting, the quality control and the design in that is not the best. Okay, they're frail, they're problematic, and yes, it's like with them Skies. I bought a Sky 15 years ago. It wasn't worth a shit. It was an accurate pistol when it functioned, but they gave you a list of ammo not to put in there. Just about half the shit available. Okay. These things function fine. Yeah, granted they're a cheap gun, The only problems I had, they wouldn't hold back on the last shot and trip the slide stop. That's about it. But other than that, damn things, the blazer brass fired right through them. You know, there's other people that they couldn't get one magazine through the weapon without it stopping, jamming, stovepiping. You know, that's just the way it goes with that. Again, design, quality, all that other stuff. You know, I know a lot of the guys, uh, especially up there in Canada, they get these different firearms, and some of them are not that inexpensive. Okay, and they want to shoot real powerful 3-inch mag shells in them. Okay, actually, Rod had that one side by side. That thing retails for over $1,000, and they shot it, and the damn mechanism loose, where the safety and everything's coming up. It was insane, you know. So you can pay for some guns. Uh, wrong with Spain. Well, it depends on the weapon. I won't shoot corrosive ammo in an AR style weapon because there's really no way to clean the gas tube out. Okay, corrosive ammo is fine in any bolt action rifle or semi-auto if you can tear it apart, clean everything, and clean. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, but the key here is, like he says, if you clean it. The one person made a comment: if you clean the gun. Some people don't do that. They'll just fire the rifle, put it up, and not do anything, not clean it, not do anything with it. And that's where the trouble starts. Okay. And that's where the trouble with a lot of these guns that I test. Okay, it's true. One of them had a silica bag in the barrel of the shotgun, which at a local gun shop, same thing happened with a Centurion. I just took it out of the box, loaded it. There was a damn silica bag in the barrel. And the gun blew, first shot, split the barrel, which with a bullpup, that's right by your friggin' face. Okay. And, they're full of that protective oil they put on at the factory. Uh, they coat it. Some of them have a lot in there. And it's like the one guy with the AR style thing. He said that he fired it and he had an adjustable gas regulator up on the end there. Well, he fired it without cleaning it, and it got to where you could see he had to take uh, channel locks or some kind of pliers to break it loose. And what happened was all that stuff, when you fire the gun, the heat and the powder residue, it turns like into a glue. Okay, and it will gum up the gun. Okay, you have to take acetone or carburetor cleaner. You got to wipe that crap out of there, or it becomes a problem. Okay, and that's another thing, and that applies to any firearm. Okay, granted, when you get some brand name guns, but there's still a protective coat of oil, kind of a heavy oil on there when it comes out of the factory, because they don't know how long that gun's going to set somewhere. Okay, and people just don't do it, and it causes problems. You have to maintain and clean your guns no matter what. Price. Your opinion on price trends now and the future. Well, the commercial guns, like you're seeing the prices lower on them. And again, election year, like the article stated, election year. They're the morons in the news agencies don't understand why the sales aren't up. Okay. That's because nobody's panicking. We've set records for the past 10 years, really, other than somebody who wasn't old enough to buy a firearm, maybe buying a firearm now. But for most people, I think that they've gotten something, for home defense. Also, we're not dealing with the amount of civil unrest that we did prior to the last election, there was an awful lot of civil unrest. Well, they're not pulling this play, this ain't in the new playbook. Okay, civil unrest and protests. You had the Palestinian, Israeli protests, which are a problem, but it's more that they're it's more that they're removing the protesters than them going nuts and burning down half the city like what was going on. Okay, and that's where people were fearful. Um, so you don't have that. So the demand for firearms and self-defense is not that key of a thing. Plus, you also have, we're on the verge of an economic collapse. You could see it everywhere. People don't have a lot of money. People don't have excessive money, okay, or with disposable income. So you're not going to see people that might be tempted to buy another gun, buy a gun. They're not going to do that. Honestly, I can say if you haven't, stock up on some ammo. I got plenty of 5.56. I got a few thousand or so rounds on top of whatever mismatch of stuff for 9 millimeters. I got stuff for a lot of handguns. How many handguns can you carry at once? I got some 9 millimeter. I got some 5.56, and I got some 12 gauge. I bought a whole bunch of 12 gauge shotgun shells. So, Cal law adds 10% excise to retail price. Now has a nostalgic value that yeah, see, it's different. The attempted assassination on Trump, that through everything, and they're doing a lot of strange things. Okay, they're changing things, and the economic thing. This is something they always pull this around an election. Okay, if one side doesn't win or something, there's always something, and it'll probably start in the spring of next year. Okay, there'll be some sort of financial. It's already started. We had a stock market crash, and the weird thing is the metals dropped also. Okay, and they still have not lowered the interest rate. So when you try to gauge that, like we're gauging this here, I mean, everybody knew it was obvious prior to the last election. Any gun channel out there told us, hey, look, things are going to get bad. We're going to see shortages for years. And it was almost 3 years where you could actually go to the store and just buy a box 9 millimeter. Okay. I mean, this stuff where they made people stand in line and you could only buy 3 items. I remember this is insane. Or you were limited between the health risk and that, like going into Sportsman's Warehouse. They were at the door. They'd only let so many people in, and you had to, wear a mask and whatever the hell, and go in there, and they were regulating this and crazy stuff. So even if they did have it, it was a pain in the ass to get in the store to go buy it. And yes, this is going to get ugly here. They're not using the civil unrest thing, but there's a lot of political shenanigans going on, and I don't believe a lot of the things being put out in the media. You can't believe a damn thing you hear from anyone. Now, supposedly, Harris is more popular than Trump within 2 weeks. All of a sudden, she's got a few percentage points over him, and then something about Trump's emails were hacked, his campaign headquarters. What the hell is in? I don't know. Many years ago, I bought two CZ52. Yeah, that's about what the CZs went for, 175. I think I paid without a holster. I paid 100.5 for them. Well, that's another thing that's running out is not only the mil surplus guns, but the ammunition that goes with them. Okay, if you look at it, other than the Mosins, the reason the Mosins were popular, the 7.62 by 54 ammo, all that ammo we were getting in them cans is still used in machine guns in a lot of these countries. So that ammunition is still made. Now, when you look at 8mm Mauser, you know, that stuff used to be everywhere. That was like anyone who was allied with the U.S. after World War II used a 30-06, and most countries used the 8mm Mauser, okay, for years after World War II because of the bolt action rifles, the machine guns were all calibered in them, and everything else. And that was all through Europe uh, and Africa, okay. Granted, South America leaned more towards 7mm, which that was plentiful also, along with the rifles. But they used to convert a lot of their 7mm to the 7.62 by 55 or whatever, 308 Winchester. And then once NATO um, adopted it, okay, as a light machine gun and FNFALs and all the European powers and that in the West used that ammo. It was also plentiful, and it's still used in the machine guns, I believe. Yeah, it is. They still have a 30 cal. So some of the ammo is still kind of available. You know, it's like 5.56. Okay, you can get surplus ammo, but like 8mm, you're not going to get any of the Carcanos. I used to see that stuff back in the 70s. Uh, any of the Hungarian 8mm, the 8x50 or the 8x56. I had rifles, but I can never go into any gun shows or nothing back, you know, and that's before the internet. I can never find ammunition for those guns. You know, I had several rifles when I was a teenager that I just ended up selling them to buy something that I could use. I mean, they hung on a wall, they were cool, but you could never fire them. Fortunately, with the fall of communism, a lot of these cartridges are available, much like the 8mm Lebel. You may find some surplus ammo. It used to be around, okay? I don't know if it was machine gun ammo or whatever. There used to be some around, but uh, you're not going to find it dirt cheap like you used to, you know, any of that stuff. And that makes it tough because, you know, maybe some far flung places in the world are still using that caliber of those rifles, but that's another thing that gets you is the surplus ammo is dried up. I think even 303 British is awful difficult to find. And where the hell they're finding a lot of the caches that you see of both the 303 and the 8mm, that stuff was made in the 40s. Okay, so now you're talking ammunition's 80 years old. Okay, this gets a little too old. You know, 30 years old, 40 years old, depending on how it's stored or the quality of it. Sometimes you find some surplus ammo that's just crap because they didn't make it well to begin with. But when you're going on 80 years, yeah, it'll go off, but I kind of don't recommend using it. Paying these prices, yeah. So, Colt detectives. Oh yeah, Yeah, my cousin had one. My cousin had one. He used to carry the little Colt snub nose, and they weren't much more. I'm talking at the time. It's going back 40 years or so. A couple $100 for a used one, and they're nice guns. But yeah, now anything, even Smith and Wessons. Well, a new Smith revolver is over $1,000. So if you got some that are like minty and 40 years old or something, they're worth about $800. Okay, I ain't gonna sell my Smith for a couple $100. I mean, what the hell? July 13th. Yeah. All right, Rod's here. Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, it used to be back in the 80s when they brought all that stuff in. This stuff was dirt cheap. I mean, you're buying 1,000 rounds of ammo for $80 or something, you know, and I still got some 8 millimeter I bought with them Hakims and all that other stuff, and it was corrosive. I think it was made in Egypt or Syria or something, but it shot well. It was accurate ammo. You just had to clean the hell out of the gun when you used it. But I still have a few hundred rounds of it, and that stuff went off for years without a hitch. I mean, it functioned. I had no duds, no. Now, after all this time, I took some out. I'd say about a quarter of it just doesn't fire, doesn't go off. So, after a certain point in time, and this has all been stored, climate control and ammo cans, sealed lids, uh, the ammunition's really not good anymore. I should gather it all up and try to shoot most of it off or something. But yeah, so you got an issue with that. Is you're already buying old ammo that's been cycled out and you hang on to it for 20, 30 years and then you find out this stuff, it just breaks down. That's just the plain, simple truth of it. So a lot of these calibers we're looking at are not plentiful in terms of surplus ammo. Yeah, it's expensive and harder to get. Mixed cordite, half works, tips, stick. 303, 7.62, Jap, no. Yeah, $400 for a spam can of 7.62 by 54. I forget what the hell they didn't call. I can't even remember what I bought them for. I had one that I think I got for about $80 or something the last time I bought one. It was like under 100, and I opened that, and that's all. I haven't shot any of my Mosins in a long time. You could try shooting, hitting a primer a couple times, but generally, when they're a dud, like when I fire them 2, 3 times, they don't go off. Hey, all right, Joe, it's good to see you. But yeah, uh, the future, who knows? Okay, they're not gonna, like I said, they're not gonna make any more surplus guns, and if the demand is still out there and crazy, uh, you know, like some people say, well, I ain't gonna buy it at that price. Well, obviously somebody does. Okay. A lot of times I tried to sell some guns and I asked for what I thought was a going rate. Oh, well, I ain't going to pay that. Yeah, well, eventually someone does pay. Okay, so that's why they ask it. Granted, people at these gun shows are asking insane prices. Okay, they're not reasonable, but I don't know if they sell any because I had a buddy that was running a gun shop, and I used to go to the gun shows with him. And there was this one guy. He, the father was this older dealer or something, and he had all these Japanese rifles and stuff, some samurai swords and stuff, and never sold any. I mean, his prices were astronomical because I guess now they're $600, but he was asking something like that back 20 years ago. And my buddy goes, I don't know what the hell they do. He goes, they set up at the gun show. It's the same stuff. He goes, I went over and looked at some of it. He goes, and they keep increasing the price. And he goes, it's like, they're never going to sell it. He goes, they just drag the same stuff around again and again. But, you don't know. Uh, About a DWM commercial Luger, matching numbers. Yeah, any Luger in decent shape, uh, 950, But yeah, that's the long and the short. Yeah, it's good. It's getting where you're looking $2 a round for Carcano. Okay. As a matter of fact, keep an eye out. I'll have a video. I may have a spring cleaning going on, but can't mention that on YouTube. Uh, but it used to be PPU, you could get the different calibers, the different military calibers. It used to be $24 a box. Now it's 35, approaching 40. Okay, and that's a wholesale. That's somebody wholesaling. Anything I do, I got to pay retail sales tax and everything for it. And really, it's not worth it. I haven't been out shooting with everything going on, and I don't know where it's going to go. Okay, you still see groups of surplus stuff filter in, uh, pistols basically out of Czechoslovakia. In Poland, it was the same thing. The P64s and the P83s kind of come in a little at a time, and they are used by civilian. At least the P64s were when I was over there. The local police, the border police, or whatever the hell, you've seen different law enforcement people wearing those guns, depending on where you were. And little by little, they're being phased out. Because my cousins who were police officers said all of that stuff with the Makarov caliber, he goes, that the ammo was all taken away, and because we're on a police department, we have to carry 9 millimeter, and they're all Walters or whatever, very expensive guns. So they couldn't use their own older, obsolete guns, and that's how they filtered in a little at a time. You'd see them in waves come in as they got caught up. Uh, there were two pistols they came up with in 9 millimeter, but you find them. One of them, they had some issues with it, and that's where it ended up on the surplus market. And I ain't quite sure what they're doing now, but and probably in Czechoslovakia it's the same thing. As they phase these guns out of their inventories and get caught up to where they're no longer usable or using those calibers, then a lot of them will end up on the surplus market. actually where all that stuff comes from, like the Mosin crate. He gets all kinds of wild stuff coming in, you know, from Israel or whatever, and he has anything and everything. Jericho's stars. He was getting stuff from the Puerto Rican police department or something. There's all kinds of strange things that he gets in there. He has a pretty interesting assortment of things when they come in. Um, so the surplus market too is very. You'll see, like, I thought all the Swiss rifles were here, and Royal Tiger got a bunch of them. I know they didn't get them out of Ethiopia. Okay, they had a bunch of Swiss rifles, and they're still filtering in little groups here and there. As for the Mosins, I don't know if they're coming in. I think AIM had a bunch of them that come in, and it's kind of foolish because a lot of those guns were coming out of the Ukraine, so I don't see why, instead of just giving them $1 billion, why don't they let them sell some of this old junk off to us to raise money? But I guess the powers to be, even these antiquated weapons, they don't like the idea of boatloads of them ending up out in the streets. Can't keep it up. I keep moving. Okay, Joe, I'm looking for a clean, reasonably priced Nambu pistol. What you're describing does not exist. Okay, the Nambus that I've seen on JG Wholesale. It used to be those guns, again, couldn't get ammo. Okay, you couldn't get ammo for them. There were people that collected Japanese firearms, don't get me wrong. There always has been. It was not as popular as collecting Mausers from all the different countries. So Japanese stuff at one time, it was around. It wasn't expensive. You couldn't get ammo. That was a problem. There was a company that tried manufacturing the 8mm Nambu ammo. Okay, with the one I have, my Type 14, I did get the ammo down pat. Okay, if you try using the short stuff, I got all kinds of weird things, and I blew my extractor off. It bent. So there was a guy that could make one for me. Okay, and forget about getting the parts done. And I bought that gun, yeah, 12, 13 years ago. I caught it on a gun broker auction. Some guy was selling, somebody must have come into his shop and dumped a whole bunch of them. He had like 4 or 5 of them. And this one, the holster was kind of fucked up and shit. And I got it reasonable. I think I got it for under $500. But you're not going to touch any Japanese pistols. Okay, they're 800. I seen them. They had some on the gun broker, and it was weird. It must be a guy had an accumulation of them. And then this one auction company, in their auction, they had like 4 or 5 of them, which, spread them out. Okay, because all you're doing is lowering the price, but all of them went for an excess of $600-700. That was a year or so ago. Now, I don't know. I was seeing what the hell they had at JG Wholesale. It was 800,000 or more, over $1,000 for a Japanese pistol. I don't want one that bad. Yeah, that's another reason. Reloading. I should reload 30. I got stuff to reload 308 and 9 millimeter Mac is what I should reload, and I just haven't gotten around to doing any reloading or anything. I haven't really got around to making a lot of content. I was gonna go out and drag out my black powder replica guns and shoot the handguns and everything, but it's just between the heat and things going on, I just never got around to it. And I mean, it's difficult. That heat wave that set in here was horrible, and then we get hit with these rains and then these storms. Okay, um, I had all kinds of weird stuff. I did lose the damn internet for about 10, 15 minutes. I almost couldn't get onto the live broadcast. So I've been dealing with a lot of technical stuff. Some of it's gotten straightened out. And I got to where I can upload now. My upload speeds after they redid the server or something. And what I'm going to do from now on is I will put videos on YouTube and the same one separately I'll put on Rumble. So they'll be on both. If I upload one thing, it'll be on both. In general terms, that's acceptable to YouTube. But it's like when I did one about the riots in London. I had a couple people send me, comments or messages telling me that YouTube is removing people's comments on that topic. So something like that, I will go and just put on Rumble. So, check out my Rumble channel, which I'm getting a lot more activity on Rumble. That I can see. I'm getting a lot more views, a lot more people are going there. And the stuff that I can't put on this platform, I will put on Rumble. Okay. Because they don't, slight of something about an actual execution or something, or slander, bullying, or, something like that. They're what's restricted on there is not as intense as what's going on. And then plus another thing I heard, I don't know if you guys heard it, I heard Google's getting antitrust lawsuit or something slammed against them, having a monopoly or something on search engines and controlling the internet to a degree. I don't know. That's something I heard. I ain't got the time to get into but it's one thing. Brighten your day. Friday, yeah. Just picked up Winchester 19.5. Yeah, Megabait, that price there, you're not going to beat that. That's pre-election, the price is there. Just picked up Winchester model 300. Oh, 12. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, old sporting guns, I really haven't looked at any of them. You find them, but a lot of the flea market and gun show guys there's these old guys that go to the gun show, and they got all these old sporting guns, old pump shotguns, rifles, and that. And I mean, they want a lot of money for them. That's just the long and short of it. But as people have said, yes, the surplus market is getting expensive. And, like a lot of people say, hey, I just want a common, Swedish M38 or something, and they get pricey. Okay. They were around. I think I have 3 of them. I accumulated 3 of them over the years, and I did have a real nice mint one. I sold the damn thing all them years ago. But I picked up these three here. One of them I bought at a gun show. It had like rust in the barrel, but I fired a box of shells through it and the rust went away. But I don't know how quite accurate it is. I developed a damn load for it that's super accurate. It's pretty cool because I got out of 5 shots, I had 3 of them at the same exact velocity. So it was a super neat load that I got, and I haven't quite tried it out yet. I should. It's something I should do. Let's fire that up. Then again, I don't know if I can ever find the friggin' powder to load more of it up. You know, that's that's how it gets tough. It gets tough. You know, like the Milsurp Duo there asked me, am I using uh, foreign powders, and I haven't really. I know they're available, but I haven't done them. Haven't gotten out and did any work with them. But it's just tough all the way around. You know, like we discussed when we had open discussions about the reloading stuff. There's some companies just not putting them out. You know. Silverbraid also brought their swords home. Captain Sword, Merchant Dagger. Yeah, Mag Company. It is. It will be tough for me to accumulate what I have or had over the past 20 years. Um, it would be number one. It's harder to find good condition stuff that hasn't been sporterized and slammed back together again. Okay. Um, the problem is a lot of people just want to go and just buy it. You can't. You have to work at it. You have to look, search. It's a pain in the ass. Go to auctions, either online or physically go to them. They used to have a lot of them around here, and I picked up some good deals just going to the auctions. You know, when they had them on Fridays, I didn't work on Fridays. I used to go to these auctions on the weekends or something like that. And if you had some money in your pocket, you could walk out because it's kind of like feast or famine. There's a lot of these estate auctions where these people bought these guns years ago, and there are all kinds of really neat bolt action rifles and stuff in there, and some trapdoors. But I already kind of spent my limit. I kind of kicked myself in the ass because them trapdoors went for practically nothing. Um, I wish I had some more expendable money at the time. I would have bought a ton of guns there at one point in time. And you never know. That's how you find it, but that's coming far and few between. Uh, I went to a few smaller auctions a couple years ago. Last year I was busy with working and all the problems I had. I had no time to go look for firearms, so it was 2, 3 years ago. And any old 1911s, GI 19, they went for crazy amounts of money, close to 2 grand. Okay, I knew this guy's estate and what he had. Um, he had a World War I Luger that was chrome plated or nickel plated or something, and that friggin' thing went for over $1,000. Okay, anything with a Nazi marking on it was, you know, there were some nice Browning high powers in there, but they went for a ton of money. People know what they are. People want them. Okay. Used to be if you went to an obscure auction, and unless there was a dealer or somebody in there who knew what the hell was going on, you could pick stuff up for a decent price. Then there's some auction houses, they pull this shit, they don't let you look at none of the weapons until, they're up here. You don't get to examine it, which I don't like that. It's bad practice. Then the stuff he had listed, some of it was kind of junk. And then he had a couple nice pistols in that. But these things you couldn't even, it come up this old pistol, I kind of wanted it, and there's no activity. And I start bidding on it. The next thing I know, all of a sudden, this guy's like sleeping over here, not starts bumping it up. And I said, nope, ain't gonna fall for that. Where he's gonna run that up and to a price they want. And I said, no, not anymore. So, yeah, it's a tough racket. How it's gonna go in the future, I don't know. Like I said, they're not making any more of these guns. If there are guns somewhere that are not released yet, probably Moe's and the Gaunts. I know there's a whole pile of them. God only knows what the hell the Russians got in surplus, but since we boycotted them or in a war with them, that ain't going to happen. Um, they banned the Chinese. I know they got a ton of crap they could probably send over, but that's never going to happen. Um, and really, I don't know if there are any caches left of large amounts of surplus guns. If they are, they're in pretty terrible shape because they were probably passed over when people were buying stuff years ago. Because I seen some Spanish guns. I remember I went to a Gander Mountain uh, years ago, and I mean they had a whole used rack full of these Spanish Mausers, and every single one I could take the bolt out and look. Royal Tiger bores. And they wanted like $300 some for them. If they had a single one in there with a decent, somewhat shootable bore, I might have gotten it, but nope, ain't gonna do it. I mean, it's just the conditions too crappy. All right, so like yeah, 650 if it's a nice one. Yeah, and that's another thing. The gun broker, you're not supposed to be doing that, but I know they do. Okay, you can't prove it, and the gun broker lets them do it because they're generating money. Gun broker makes money from sales. Okay. Russians melted down millions of Mosins in 2014. Oh, I didn't hear that. That's something that's news to me. I don't know. Because they did make, what was it, 37 million of them before it was all done. So, you know, can't sell them. Might as well scrap them. Shame, though. That was nice getting them by the case. So this batch of Italian Carcanos is nice. The only problem is the ammunition screws you up. Plus, to learn to shoot them, you got to go and shoot some ammo to figure out how they work and get the sight picture down. And so, yeah, you can pick them up for about 300 or less, depending on what condition they are. And they're in good shape. Most of them, some of them have good bores, some of them have. It's like with any mill surplus. You never know what you're getting or how worn they are. But on the other hand, the ammunition, when you're shooting more, you expend more in ammunition than you did for the cost of the weapon, and kind of this hobby isn't fun. Ah, okay. Russian is still packed with guns. I don't know about 50 years. I think it has to be in a neutral country for, it was less than 50 years. It was, I think it was 10 or 15. But they're talking like tractors, because like they could have flooded the market with tractors. And they did bring a bunch of them in once communism fell and they kind of lifted that. Russian tractors were sold. Russian motorcycles, Baikals, were sold in this country for a period of time there in the 90s. Even though the quality wasn't quite as good as what we're used to, but they were inexpensive. And then that kind of ended, the golden era of the end of the Cold War. Yeah, North Korea, I doubt very much. It ain't quite a neutral country either. Uh, you never know, though. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you still see some Swiss guns come in, and the price on them, they ratcheted up in the $600 mark. I don't know. You can find some kind of reasonable, a little less. Because I know, how was that company that used to get them? They're out of Kentucky or something. They would get them. I mean, Portuguese Mausers were the biggest haul. I don't know where those came from, but everybody had them. The Mosin Crate had them. Several different places had those guns, and they were quite expensive. They were a rare gun. I remember them as one of the rare Mausers, the Portuguese KR98s. I ain't quite sure how that all come about, but or where they been all these years. There were a bunch of them. They had, pretty good price tag on them. But yeah, that was kind of odd to see that come in. So, like I said, you never know. You never know what's lying around somewhere, someplace in storage, forgotten. It's like the Carcanos, I believe they're with the highway department or something for some odd reason. And there were no long rifles. They're all carbines of some sort or short rifles. I don't think there are any long rifles at all. And it had to be there was some purpose for them there. For P14. Yeah. I don't know if they're still over there. I remember the P14s that ended up in the Philippines in one batch that came in. They came from the PI. Uh, and I know the Russians got a bunch of those. Um, but yeah, I see. The thing is, we're already embargoing stuff with them. Who knows? If we change regimes here in this country, that may change. Um, but that would be interesting. You've seen those videos of people who buy storage lockers and find them hoarded with guns. It could be. See, I kind of find that hard to believe because I've seen a few videos uh, where people buy these storage lockers and they find gun safes in it, and you can see where the individual went, sold the guns. Maybe there's a 22 in there, some ammo or some accessories, but to find where you have a huge locker full of a lot of guns, a person either had to die or end up in prison to where he couldn't get to it. And I've seen a couple of them videos where the guy had a ton of stuff in there. I mean, it was like all ARs and magazines and stuff. And, I forget though what he bid. See, this is another thing. He was talking what he paid or what he bid on that locker. Okay, the people that run the storage place kind of, I think, go in there and look at what the hell is in there and get an idea because sometimes he's paying $6,000 or something for a storage locker. And yeah, it might be full of guns. He's coming close to getting whatever, but I don't know. I've watched several of them. I give up on it, but like you said, yeah, now they're showing some of these lockers are, I mean, chock full of stuff. I don't know. You know, well, you got to remember, there's always been a practice. We even did it back when we invaded Panama. Okay, we went in there and confiscated a shitload of their rifles and small arms, which were all Russian or Chinese made or something. They were all AK-47s and that. That stuff was all gathered up and shipped to a depot somewhere in the United States. And that was one of the things the Panamanians were bitching that we took all their weapons. Uh, it's been a practice to take enemy weapons, okay, and they take them, they store them, and then they're handed out, which probably when the Russians during the Cold War in Africa wanted to raise hell, what you want to do is when you're underhandedly supplying an insurgency or a government weapons and you don't want it traced to you, okay, you would send them Italian carcanos or something like that. We've done that. And for years, uh, all that stuff in the 80s down in South America with the Sandinistas and all this other stuff, they went down there and they were Soldier of Fortune with Colonel Brown or whatever the hell he was. They went down there, did an investigation, and they were examining the M16 rifles that were being captured. So they were allowed to go down there and check the serial numbers and that. And all of these rifles that they found floating around South America, when they run the serial numbers, they found that they were combat losses from Vietnam. So there was a cache of these guns. And actually, they went there when Vietnam was selling all this stuff. They wanted a special trade agreement, and the government, the U.S. government, wouldn't give it to them. So they had an open house sale, and it was mostly what they were worried about is the aircraft parts, something about the aircraft parts that were usable or whatever they were selling. But they also showed on the list the amount of rifles and stuff that they had. And all you had to do was go over there with cash and buy whatever. They had choppers, they had some training aircraft, uh, they had ammunition, they had M1 Garands, they had M16s, they had a whole pile of stuff. Okay, basically anything they gave to the South Vietnamese army, I guess, ended up in their inventory. And truthfully, there's some units that still use the M16 rifles that were in good shape. They're still in use by the Vietnamese army today. Uh, you know, so what they probably did around Stalingrad or whatever they did with any foreign weapons, chances are they were kept somewhere and then secretly handed out uh, to people. Because we do that. That's why we kept all these foreign Russian-made guns. So you want to go start something somewhere, you're not going to give them our weapons. You give them foreign weapons. It's kind of like when they went in Afghanistan and the CIA was going in there. The CIA went around and purchased Lee Enfields and ammunition for them. And that is what they provided to the Mujahideen or whatever to attack the Russians when the Russians were occupying the country. That's what they did. They didn't give them M16s. They didn't give them AK-47s. They went and got a whole pile of Enfields and the ammo, and that's what they supplied them with to attack the Russians because it's kind of untraceable. You know. So yeah, that's the way it goes. As for what the future has for us, who knows? All right, Mauserwaffen, how's it going? Who knows? One thing I don't foresee, I don't see another rush on firearms and ammunition. I don't see that happening. And like I said, part of it is because the economy's not good and people just don't have disposable income. And really, if you didn't get a gun in the past 10 years, I don't see. Agreed. Surplus used to be sold by the pound. Yeah, yeah. Research on Vietnamese surplus. Most of it is still there and not worth a ton of money. They really don't. They really don't. Got this damn thing blocking this. To use to open it up to tourists. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the stuff been abandoned for God knows how long, but in the jungle. But yeah, like I was going to say, uh, I don't really think we're going to see a rush um, for a lot of factors. Things are different this election. Um, nobody's touching gun control. Okay, that's a very bad subject. Um, I know there's a lot of there's a lot of bills out there and politicians that still push everyday gun control, but that's not going to be on the forefront. Uh, I think they're working on trying to rig the courts and everything. Then you're going to see problems. But there's other issues going on, and I don't think I'll see it. As for surplus, all you fellas know it's your thing. It's not good. I don't foresee it in the future, at least not in the immediate future, getting any better. Okay, they're not going to have more material on the market. Number one, if the prices are sustained, uh, you know, where you will see it come down is when the economy crashes and people are desperate for money because they can't pay their bills, they can't find a job. They're going to try to sell anything and everything that is worth to them. And right now the prices are high on Milsurp, but if you had other things, coin collections, stamp collections, some of you guys were ever into sports cards. I mean, that was all a big thing. My brother, he collects this memorabilia and stuff from the breweries and the beer, the old beer cans and stuff. People used to have collections and pay awful lot of money for stuff. It's like Coca-Cola, same thing. People, the trays and the glassware and everything. You're finding that nobody is doing that. The value for collecting things um, is affected, and if there really is a crunch or you have a pretty serious economic collapse, you're going to see people trying to get sell or get something out of these possessions. It's like looking at my gun collection. You know, Sooner or later stuff's got to be thinned out because you find that your relatives or whoever you leave it to has no idea the value or nothing, and will end up selling it to the first sucker that comes along, and buys it for nothing and goes and auctions it off and makes 5 times more than what he paid for it. So, I put the work into building a collection. I might as well get rid of it while I still uh, I'm able to. That's the way you got to look at it, okay? Because like a lot of people, what are you going to add to your collection? I ain't really looking to add much. There are some things I wouldn't mind getting, but the truth of the matter is things are so uncertain financially and with the economy. You know, if things get real bad, I have to try to find some sort of job. And during a recession, when there are no jobs and there is no money around, even if you have some valuable stuff, you're not gonna, when it's a buyer's market, you know, you're not gonna see that. It's usually when things are good and there's a lot of money around and things are looking positive is when you can go and end up selling your stuff for a high end value. Okay, that's a tricky thing about this collecting, the gun collecting, or any collecting. That's when things are good. If the stuff is popular, the only good thing is, even though we complain that the price of mill surplus is quite high, at least it still has people interested in it. You know, so it's a double-edged sword, so to say. So let's see what we got. People still have credit cards. Your opinion on fair price SKS, Russian, Chinese, Romanian. All right. SKSs are tough because there were very few of the original Russian ones that came in, and they were well used. I don't know where the hell they came from. There was only a few small batches of Russian SKSs that come in. I had two of them. They were made in China, had the triangle with the Chinese factory markings on them and had a threaded barrel. Okay. When they started to cut back or were going to eliminate the Chinese from importing any weapons, this is when Norinco came up with some kind of a weird looking type of SKS rifle. This is not a military gun. They have pin barrels. So if you got an SKS where they press the barrel in and pinned it, and it's the paratrooper version, and this version, and that version, if you compare them to an actual military one, which are hard to find, this is why I got my one SKS and I'll keep it. I had one with a blade bayonet that was from the Parks Department or something, had a marking on there. But when they had them cheap ones, they were $99 a piece. And all these yahoos went down and bought these $99 SKSs. Now, the sad thing is, the guy told me he bought one, him and his son bought one. They're $100 a piece. It was somewhat of a military made one, okay? Because what the Chinese did, they went in a panic. And I mean, some of the stuff that come through was pretty shitty. They were just assembling guns and shipping them before the cutoff date. So there are different types of SKSs. The ones with the pin barrels. Oh, sorry. The $100 specials with the pin barrel to me are junk. Okay. You find one that's an actual SKS with a threaded barrel, they're in better shape. Okay, now these things went at different points in time. They went from $100, people were asking $700 a piece, $800 a piece during these crises and rush and back and forth and everything. Actually, now I have no idea, and you do find some Chinese SKSs that come in are pretty beat to shit, but our actual SKS is not them $100 specials. It's hard to say because the price bounced around. I mean, I've seen people for them $100 guns or whatever were asking $700-800 at one point in time. what they've all kind of filtered down to, I think, I can't remember, and they were beat. So you have to look at a few $100s. It's hard for me to say. Okay, what with the luxury, what the hell is it? Russian, Chinese, well, Romanian. I don't know about Romanian or the Yugoslavs. The Yugoslavs are going for $600-700 now. Okay, they're better. They're heavier SKS. They're a better gun, but it's a tough call. I seen them 4 or 5, and then they take them cheap ones and trick them out with magazines, 30-round mags in it. And I remember seeing a bunch of them in the pawn shop during the 2008 recession, that area. The guy had a whole rack full of them damn things. Okay, and he wanted quite a bit of money for them. So actually, and that's another thing, the Russian ones are rare, and they carried about 6 or more if you can find them. They're a tough gun to find, the Russian made ones. So what they are now, I have no idea. Uh, like I said, the Yugoslavs are up there. 7. I remember when they were 354, and I thought that was a little too much. Now they're up there to 7. The Chinese ones, if and when you find them, God only knows what anybody wants for them. Kind of never really looked it up. Let me look. All right, $950 for Yugos, $1,200 for Tula, $750 for Chinese. China one. Okay, there you go. He ended it. 9.5 for Yugos. That's about right. 7.8. $1,250 for 750. Huh? Prices here. Single purchases. Ended up at Spectrum. Retirement. Yeah, I mean, people have to have pretty hefty incomes. There's a couple. I ain't gonna mention no names. Just one guy on YouTube that buys these guns. These things are all in excess of $1,000. He goes out and shoots them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but I mean, for somebody as young as he is, to be able to drop that kind of money on the content he's putting out there, he's spending thousands and thousands of dollars. I can't do that. Some of the stuff. Okay, John Wayne commemorative Winchester 94s. That was another thing. Winchester made a ton of those guns, okay, over the years. And I remember a lot of people would buy them. Again, resale on them is bad. Okay, I mean, I've seen people had them. They come up at the gun shows, the commemoratives. They still got them in the boxes and all this other stuff. But commemorative guns are tough if you're a collector. The thing is about commemorative guns, they produce so many of them. What makes a gun rare, okay, or makes it valuable is if somebody wants one, you can't get it. And these things are around. I see them. And the prices, again, when you ask the prices, you get a realistic variation of just about what the people paid for them 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, to where they say, well, there's a premium that's worth this much. Realistically, it's kind of like anything. What can you get somebody to pay for? Okay. I mean, for me to take my Chinese SKS out and see if somebody pay me $750 in cash. You know, who knows? Maybe, maybe not. All right, the commemoratives are tough. And like I said, I've seen it because I knew a couple people. Their father bought it was such and such a gun and this caliber or something. They had different calibers and that. And you know, you can find one place that'll tell you it's worth X amount of money, and the reality is, like a lot of people say, they don't really sell for much more than what they originally cost. Okay, so those are tough. I never really got into commemorative weapons because you see them advertised, and there was one auction that somebody had a bunch of these guns that were all engraved and whatever, and I don't know, it was kind of funny. They did sell for something, but it's not like you're thinking, well, I bought this and I've had it for 30 years, so, you know, this thing should be worth. And come to find out that you don't have a long line of people standing there wanting to pay you. They're a dime a dozen, yeah. Yeah, I see, like, when you look at, like he's saying, the Franklin Mint, it's not they were selling you a counterfeit thing. They'd sell you like these little uh, 1 ounce bars to commemorate presidents' cards or something, silver. But it's not pure silver, it's sterling. Okay, which in the 70s, see, that's where you get confused. There were a lot of little commemorative things and things made out of sterling silver, which is like 90%, okay, or something like that. It's not like now these coins and that you see on my thing, they're 1 ounce of pure silver. So number one, they weren't selling you 1 ounce of pure silver, so it's less. And number two, they sell it to you for 3 to 4 times what it's worth, and they sell a lot of them. Okay, so these Winchesters, kind of the same thing. They made a bunch of them. People bought them, and you know you paid a premium for them. But you know it's something. You're paying a lot of money for something you're going to look at, okay, more than actually use, because those guns are really high gloss, bluing, the wood, really just taking it out and shooting it will damage the overall value, scratching the stock. Let's see. Yeah, well, anything you do, fly fishing, golf, whatever. So that's about it. Megabait, thank you for giving me an idea on what the going rate is on guns, because I don't even look anymore. And then Winchesters, like they said, I've seen a lot of them. They don't sell, and like he said, they made a bunch of them. You know, so yes, it's an interesting hobby. I mean, I'm glad you guys all showed up. I had a bunch of people come in today. I'm feeling a little bit better. Got this done, and try to figure out another topic. Come up next week along the high standard 22. Okay, again. All right. I got a high standard that was worth about $700. Almost had somebody give it to me, and I've seen in auctions, and they vary. You got to find somebody that really wants that pistol and will pay you. Got deep pockets, and it's generally an older retired person. Okay, and some of them guns. worth money. They're collectible. Yeah. Again, that's a tough one. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to get rolling here. And I'll be back next Sunday. Hopefully the sinuses will clear up and things will be a little bit better. All right. Thank you for showing up, gentlemen, and have a good weekend.